Folks, I'm Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM News on the AM Show. Let's start with President John Dramani Mahama because he's ordered the Attorney General to immediately begin investigations and prosecute those found culpable in the Operation Recover All Loot report. Speaking at the Jubilee House after receiving the report from the Oral Committee and subsequently presenting it to the Attorney General, President Mahama reiterated his commitment to fighting corruption. He assured Ghanaians that every peso recovered will be reinvested in national development, emphasizing that Ghana is no longer a ground for corruption. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Where the members of the Oral Committee just finished presenting their report to the President, and the President also forwarded it to the Attorney General right there, presented it to the AG for the next phase, to take place. The chairman of the Oral Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, said the total value of 36 financial cases reviewed was $20.49 billion. He said the estimated value of state lands reviewed was $702.8 million, with the total estimated value of all cases reviewed standing at $21.19 billion. President John Mahama presented the report after receiving it from the Oral Committee to the Attorney General, ordering him to launch immediate investigations and prosecute those who be found culpable in the Operation Recover All Loot report, as he warns that Ghana is no longer a ground for corruption.
Make for sober reading. They reveal the scale of financial leakages that have cost our nation dearly. Resources that should have been invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and social development. But they also offer hope that through our collective efforts, we can reclaim what is ours and deter future acts of economic sabotage. As we receive this report, let me assure the Ghanaian people that the work does not end here. The recommendations of the report will be carefully studied, and where legal action and investigations are warranted, they will be pursued without fear or favor. Every peso recovered will be channeled back into national development, and mechanisms will be strengthened to prevent such losses in the future. I have promptly handed over the report to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and I give him firm instructions to commence immediate investigations into the cases reported in here with a view to prosecuting anyone found liable for corruption or related offenses. To those who think they can defraud the state and escape justice, let this serve as a strong warning. Ghana is no longer a safe haven for corruption. To those who stand for integrity, accountability, and the rule of law, I assure you that this government remains your steadfast partner.
We want to conclude with some fascinating figures. The 36 cases that we have reviewed in detail, if we are successful in recoveries, we can retrieve as much as 20.49 billion United States dollars. 20.49 billion United States dollars. 36 cases, and that's from National Cathedral, PDS, SML. You have the GMPC salt pond decommissioning, and we decided that in this open session we will not go into greater detail, and so I want to be restrained. But there's a great deal of resources belonging to the taxpayers that can be retrieved. Then we've also done an estimate of the state capture, the lands. If we successfully ask people to pay conservative market value for the lands they have looted, again, the experts are telling us that we can recover about 702.8 million United States dollars for the Ghanaian people. That's if we just ask people, those who were paying 42,000 cedis, 120,000 cedis, 160,000 cedis, to pay the fair market value. Those are lands that $500,000, $600,000, you will even struggle to get cantonments land at that figure. So very conservative estimates. We take the view that if people are asked to pay the real market value, this is how much we can retrieve. So in all, just a summary, the 36 cases the high amount cases that we put together, and then the land loot, potentially we can raise about 21.19 billion United States dollars. And that is far more than what we have been chasing the IMF for and subjecting ourselves to all kinds of conditionalities. So we want to renew our
Moving on, health authorities in the Buono East region are increasing public education and surveillance to help save lives and curb the possible spread of meningitis. The Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Paulina Clara Pia, in an interview with Joy News, urged the general public, especially those experiencing fever and headaches, to report to the nearest health facility for immediate attention. Anas Sabit has more in this report.
With increased meningitis cases across some parts of the country over the past few weeks, health authorities in the Buono East enclave have put in place high alerts with increased surveillance across major health facilities across the area. Regional Director of Health Services Dr. Paulina Clara Pia, in an interview with Joy News, noted that the move is to help keep the spread of the disease.
Starting from November, when the dry seasons come in, we do sometimes see a high number of meningitis cases. And so in preparing for this season, what we did was we met at the RCC and just notified them that we are getting towards the meningitis season, so we should get ourselves ready. And then we updated our epidemic preparedness plan. And following that, we raised an alert and then notified all the districts and facilities that let's be on the lookout for meningitis. Anybody who comes to the hospital and then who has signs and symptoms that fit the meningitis case definition, the person should be picked up so that we'll quickly manage. Because we know meningitis is a medical emergency. If you don't pick the person quickly and then put the person on appropriate treatment.
Health authorities in the area are, however, admonishing the general public to endeavor towards visiting nearby health facilities when unwell to help in the early diagnosis of the disease.
What we are doing continuously is that the general public also should know about the signs and symptoms. Because elsewhere, for example, where Upper West, where they have the outbreak, if people do not report to the hospital early, no matter what you do, the deaths go up.
Dr. Paulina Clara Pia further cautioned the general public against certain activities that could lead to the outbreak of the disease, and this includes avoiding overcrowded areas with poor ventilations, amongst others.
Basically, drinking lots of water during this time, avoid overcrowding, putting on masks when you are in a situation where you feel that somebody is coughing, or if you're also coughing, also mask yourself so that you don't transmit the meningitis to somebody.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Kintampo.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health says it will be commencing engagement with United States authorities and the international community over the much-needed aid, which is likely to be terminated following the executive order freezing international development assistance from Washington. Ghana currently enjoys over $69 million in aid to critical sectors of the country, including health. While the orders have been modified to allow waivers for, quote, life-saving humanitarian assistance, unquote, many are struggling to assess the implications of U.S. President Donald Trump's decision. Here in Ghana, as well as all stakeholders are worried about how the country, which is currently grappling for a bailout from the IMF, will be able to secure funds in the wake of a 90-day pause on U.S. aid. But responding to the concerns, Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Kando says he is hopeful aid will be restored after 90 days.
Yeah, I mean, this is a diplomatic engagement issue. So we'll be engaging them. We need them. We cannot say we don't need them. We need them. We'll be engaging them. They've given us 90 days. Let's pray that it will not go beyond the 90 days. But I don't think there's any cause of alarm for now, especially with the emergencies they were assisting. We have been able to put measures in place to maintain those activities on the field. For example, I'll give you one example. The distribution of, we call it the last milestone. So the distribution of, consumables and what have you, they assisted in some of the regions. So we have put measures in place to be able to continue those activities. And so there is no activity that will be put on hold. All the activities they were supporting will continue to operate until we pray that God touches their heart to rescind their decision.
A family of 4 tragically lost their lives after a fire consumed their home in Gyinyaase, a suburb of Asokwa municipality in the Ashanti region. Linda Ajimang, a nurse at the Kumasi South Hospital, and her 3 children, aged between 7 and 14, died after they were trapped in a 3-bedroom apartment. Emmanuel Bright Kweku tells us more.
The fire incident is reported to have occurred in the wee hours of Saturday, February 8, 2025. The blazing fire destroyed the house and other properties contained in it as other tenants narrowly escaped being torched. The firefighters arrived at the scene after receiving the distress call and managed to extinguish the fire, but the victims were found burnt beyond recognition in the bathroom. My sister woke up at dawn to prepare kenkey and saw the fire. She quickly called me. When I came out, the fire had raised the kitchen. I heard the screams of the children, so I hurriedly looked for a stick to break the door together with a colleague. But we were overwhelmed by the fire and we couldn't save them. Head of administration at the Kumasi South Hospital, Gyinyaase, says the hospital has not received any official communique from the family. He, however, disclosed the lady in question is off duty as she is on study leave for a year.
Okay. If she were to be at work and we have her maybe duty register, we know where she is, then that one we can talk. But the way it is, she's in school more than a year. So even though we know her, she's not at work right now.
The fire incident adds to the over 183 fire outbreaks recorded in the Ashanti region between January 1 to February 7, 2025, with at least 6 dead. The charred bodies of the deceased have since been conveyed to the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital morgue, awaiting autopsy. The fire service has commenced investigations to establish the cause of the fire. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Quick.
In other stories, a former Greater Accra Regional Minister, Nilaye Afotiagbo, is calling for a full-scale investigation into an alleged derogatory remark made against the MP for Koliklote, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings. During parliamentary proceedings, an unidentified member of parliament reportedly stated, quote, "Sit down, daughter of a murderer," unquote. Now, that statement has sparked wide condemnation. Speaking to the press on the matter, Afotiagbo condemned the comment as inappropriate and unacceptable. He stressed the need for a thorough investigation to identify the individual responsible and hold them accountable. Mama Visefa Akote has more in this report.
The statement, "Sit down, daughter of a murderer," has sparked controversy across the country in recent days. Several stakeholders have petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to identify the culprit, arguing that the remark tarnishes the legacy of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. The latest to join the call for action is a former Greater Accra Regional Minister who is demanding a full-scale investigation into the matter.
And Rawlings deals with murderers. When I say he deals with murderers, not because he moves with them. Rawlings punishes murderers and killers and people who are wicked on fellow human beings. That's the man Rawlings. If it's about because of the excesses of the coup d'etats, the first coup d'etat, Rawlings himself was brought out of a jail by soldiers. He wasn't even part of the planning after he's been arrested. When he was brought out of the jail, in the course of taking over the state, the broadcasting house, the Air Force, the military base, and other installations of the country, you know very well that there will be resistance. There will be resistance for his actions and the actions of those who brought him out of the jail. Through that, people will almost die. Those things happened. Some other individuals took advantage of it to go and score points.
Mr. Futiagbo has strongly urged the leadership of the MPP Minority Caucus to address the issue and issue an unreserved apology to the Kwale Clotte MP and the Rawlings family.
I think in Parliament we have cameras all over. And everything that happens on the floor of Parliament is being recorded. And there's no way that when we decide to have an independent investigation team to go into this matter, they can't come out with anything good. They will always come out with a good report, and whoever did that wrongful statement will never go free. He will be dealt with. Because this was someone, Rawlings, that everybody respected internationally. And there is anything wrong that he did for not standing for the truth and justice and making sure that people who misbehaved were not punished, the international community would have come for him after handing over to President Kufuor. Very important, because it was said within the MPP group, no one is being able to be strong enough and brave and courageous.
Away from that, the 2024 NDC parliamentary candidate for Efutu, James Kofi Annan, and independent candidate Louisa Boabeng have petitioned the Winneba High Court to annul the 2024 parliamentary election results. They cite irregularities and bias on the part of the Electoral Commission for their defeats in the just-ended parliamentary polls. There's more in this report.
Both James Kofi Annan and Louisa Boabeng lost the 2024 parliamentary elections to the New Patriotic Party's Alexander Afeyomakin, but they are challenging the eligibility and validity of the minority leader, saying the polls were unfairly conducted. First petitioner, James Kofi Annan, is praying the court to annul results from some 96 polling stations, claiming that the signatories on the pink sheet are not those of his officially assigned polling agents. The second petitioner, Louisa Boabeng, also wants the entire result of the parliamentary elections annulled because the Electoral Commission denied her crucial information about the elections. Jennifer Ajay is counsel for the petitioners.
In order to make sure that all parties have been served, I called the bailiff himself and I asked him, has all the processes been carried out? And he said he has been able to carry out that of the substituted service, but he was unable to serve, or he has not served the second respondents. And I was surprised because there has only been one attempt at service on the second respondent. Now, it means that he has 2 extra attempts to make, and he has not made any of those attempts. I personally financed him to go and serve. In fact, I even told him to serve at the district office, EC's district office in Winneba here. And he insisted that, no, he has to go to Accra, their head office, to serve. I said, fine, no problem. I want my process to be served. So you take this money, go serve the process. Today I come to court. On Friday I call you. There is no service. And he says that the registrar gave him the process of the first respondent, which is the substituted service, and told him not to serve the second respondent, which I was a bit surprised. So I drew the court's attention to what has happened and the events which even predate today's proceeding. And in fact, I've made a prayer to the court that it is either the case is transferred from Winneba here to any other courts, any other high courts in Ghana here, or the registrar has to be moved away from this court because he seems to be manipulating the processes.
Do you think this is deliberate?
Of course, this is deliberate, because if you are a bailiff or you are in charge of a court and a petition such as this has come to you, you have served just once. You are supposed to carry out 3 attempts. You have served just once, and there is no proof of service. You've not carried out the second or the third. Should you be happy? And when I asked you, you told me that the process that the registrar gave you was just that of the first respondent. What it means is that there are some hands, or the registrar is manipulating the process. Now, another event which also occurred was that, if you recall, on the 20th, is it 27th or 28th or so, the day Louisa Boaben was arrested, I was in court and I had filed a motion for a joinder.
Well, it remains to be seen how this will pan out.
Well, the Ministry of Defense has deployed personnel from 48 Engineering Regiment to take initial assessment and estimates for the permanent construction of a bridge over the Esokwa River in the Upper West Achim district of the Eastern region. Follows a heart-wrenching viral video of 2 young pupils struggling to cross the river on the back of the other as they make their way across a piece of log in their quest for education. The President, John Dramani Mahama, commented on the Facebook post and assured of a swift intervention. Here's more.
The Eastern Regional Minister, Rita Akosua Awate, together with members of Parliament for Upper and Lower West Achim constituencies, and the soldiers visited the community and assured the people of speedy construction to ease their burden.
We have also seen that the Defense Ministry has gotten interested because of the bravery nature of the young man, and our President John Dramani Mahama is also interested in the issue. We are here today to tell the people of Esoko that our presidents have seen their plight, the Defense Ministry has seen their plight, and living here, we are leaving them with one word, that we are a government that deliver on our promise. So, living here is not just like leaving them. Very soon, the project will be started, and the people of Esioko are going to have their children crossing this river in peace to go out and come back.
The Member of Parliament for Upper West Achim, Emmanuel Dra, who described the situation as troubling, said the plight of the residents could worsen when the rains set in.
It's not the first bridge we have to do. I've even done 2 of this when we were campaigning. So once this one has catches the eye of the president, I think they are going to do it better and better, so that it will be an alternative road. Because on the major road, whenever they use that major road, they have a whole lot of incidents which are not good. Car knocking them down, because the pedestrians are worried. So they choose here as an alternative and a better one for them. So that's why we intervene. God being so good, I think one, he has catches the eye of the president, and even myself as the MP, we will collaborate and we will fix it for the good people of Esioko and Lower West Achim.
Let's get now into our business update with Samuel Kojo-Brace.
All right, so let's bring you the business update on the AM News. And financial economist Professor Lord Mason has questioned the sustainability of Ghana's growth trajectory so far under the IMF program. According to him, although government has shown commitment in expenditure rationalization, issues about revenue administration and reforms, as well as monetary and exchange rate policy, remain a threat to the fund. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business on the back of the IMF team visit to Ghana, to track the country's progress under the supported program and the policy direction of government on the 2025 budget, Professor Mensah maintained Ghana is on the right trajectory.
The inflation numbers, we've been able to, look at bring it down. As time goes on, and then also interest rate structures within the economy gradually, coming down. We've seen some, relatively kind of stability when it comes to the exchange rate. And so I would say what is expected of the program, we seem to be getting it. But then how to sustain it is where the problem is. And hopefully going forward, I think sitting with the government together, and of course, it's a new government. Once there's a change in government, we expect policy directions to change. And so with IMF coming in, obviously, there's going to be understanding and a kind of a convergent point where we want to look at how the economy should go. But, from where I sit, I think the current administration may not overemphasize on revenue generation. As they've given the signal of cutting down some, expenditure lines. But then they may be looking at expenditure cut. And we are looking at one objective. Once you look at expenditure and revenue for a nation, the objective is to reduce budget deficit.
So this morning, how are the currency and the commodities market doing? Let's bring an update on the two. So that does it for the business update. On the AM News, back to you, Sweetie Aboch.
Thank you, one of the S squares, for bringing us business update. Let's get into our news review segment now. And those joining us, Afelmoni is former GJA president, James Kofi Annan is 2024 parliamentary candidate for Ifutu and a child's rights advocate, as well as Ahmed Ibrahim, former PRO for the Youth Employment Agency. Please stay, we're back in a bit.